Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. May the peace of God be upon you and with you. I'm so glad that I'm coming back to Chico within 11 months. This is my second visit. This, means a lot. I love this city and this campus here, and you guys last year. You didn't give me a hard time, so I hope that you don't give me a hard time this year too. The subject that I'm going to address tonight is a little bit of the goal of Prophet Mohammad and also the Islamic Sharia. Some of you know that today one of the hottest theological, philosophical, even political debates in America that is sweeping America is the Islamic Sharia. And they claim by some people that Muslims are here to implement their religion and their Islamic law and their Islamic Sharia, and to establish this Sharia here in this land, and which poses a danger for the American culture. So, what is the Islamic Sharia and what is meant by that? I think Islamic Sharia is not only ambiguous to the non-Muslims or to the American people, but it is also ambiguous to the Muslims themselves. If you ask an average Muslim person in the streets of Cairo or Sana'a or Baghdad or Damascus or Riyadh or Casablanca, and tell them, what is Islamic Sharia? What do you mean by Islamic Sharia? What are the goals of the Islamic Sharia? I think the answer would be very poor answer. They would tell you that Islamic Sharia means the Islamic law, and it is the implementation of the Quranic law. And that's it. No more details. But this is not exactly what we mean by the Islamic Sharia. We're going to see with you tonight the meaning of Islamic Sharia. But before that, let me go to the previous one. I think the main reason for this sentiment or for this tension or anti-Sharia, anti-Islamic Sharia feeling in America stems from two things, in my opinion. One of them is definitely ignorance about Islam, misunderstanding of this religion. And you've heard this from other speakers, that we Muslims, we believe that Islam is the most misunderstood religion in the world today. The other reason for it is prejudice. Some people, they know the goals of Islamic Sharia. They probably know the meaning of Islamic Sharia. They know the intentions of the Muslims, that they don't want to invade America by their Quranic or Islamic laws. But they don't like Islam. They don't like Islam, and they don't like anything related to Islam. So it's revolving between two things: the misunderstanding and the prejudice. And because of that, the Washington Post tells us that 50%, almost 50% of the Americans have unfavorable views of Islam and Muslims. Therefore, I believe we are endowed as American citizens, we are endowed with the task of not only fighting social ills in the midst of our society, fighting crime and violence and the issues of gun control and whatever, but also more importantly, or equally important, to fight ignorance. This is the real disease. This is the real enemy, my friends. The real enemy of any person is ignorance. When we don't know things and we don't want to know them, Or if we choose to know them, we are going to know them or understand them wrongly, then this is the real enemy in our life. So we have to fight ignorance and we have to fight bigotry. Once we get to know people, then we get to understand them in the right context. Let me speak a couple of words about Prophet Muhammad before we delve into the meaning of Islamic Sharia. Many of you know that we Muslims believe that God sent many prophets and messengers and apostles to the humanity. In Islam, Adam was not only the first man created by God, he was also the first messenger to the humanity. He was messenger and God and man and first man, followed by many others who came after him. You've heard some of these names in the Old Testament. Noah, Abraham, Moses, and also there were some local, the universal messengers in Islam. We consider the universal messengers 5: Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. There are many other apostles and prophets who came, but their message was not universal. But those 5, people were universal messengers. It means that their message was intended for all those who receive them and hear them. And his message is based primarily, my friends, on peace and mercy. We have a verse in the Quran that God addresses Muhammad, saying to him, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We sent you nothing but a mercy for mankind, not just mercy for the people of Mecca or the Arabian Peninsula or the Arabs or the Middle Eastern, but mercy for the entire mankind. And of course, he refers to himself as being the brother of Moses and the brother of Jesus. He would refer to them when he speak about them as those are my brothers, although there's 1,500 years between him and Moses. More than 1,500 years, almost 2,000 years between him and Moses, and 600 years between him and Jesus. But he would refer to them as my brothers because they follow the same path. They guide the mankind and the humanity to the worshiping of God. The only thing which is worthy of worship is God, and this is what we call Tawheed or monotheism. Islam is based on this magical word, monotheism, meaning the unity of God, meaning we only submit ourselves only to God, and God is transcendent but yet eminent. We in Islam, we don't have a picture of God, we don't have a portrait of God. God does not possess any physical structure, but he's not far from us. He's not far from our feelings. He's not far from our hearts. So Muhammad was doing the same message as Moses and Jesus. The core message is the same, my friends. However, there are some differences in the tactics. There are some differences in implementing these messages. But the core message of those messengers is one. Is to free people from slavery. The slavery, either the slavery to others or the slavery to oneself. Sometimes we are enslaved by our own selves, our own lower desires. When we cannot control our desires, then we have been enslaved to our own selves. So they came to free us from all types of slaveries. And my friends, Islam does not sanctify murdering of innocent people, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims. And we have many verses in the Holy Quran. I put a couple of one on the board here, but you can see Quran for yourself. Killing of any innocent person considered a cardinal sin. Actually, in chapter 5, it says, if you kill a person as if you have killed the entire humanity. An assault on one single person, innocent person, in the eyes of God is considered as an assault on the entire humanity. And if you save the life of one person, one individual, as if you have saved the lives of the entire humanity. Human soul is very sacred. And therefore, violence is not sanctioned or promoted by Prophet Muhammad or Holy Quran, contrary to what you hear in the news, what you hear outside this room tonight, you know. Unfortunately, the name of Islam in America today, year 2013, the age of information, the age of technology, but yet the name of Islam is synonymous with terrorism. And this is because of ignorance. And I would tell you and prove to you that Islam is not the religion of terrorism or killing the innocent. However, we have some radicals, yes. The population of the Muslims today is 1.5 billion worldwide. They live, you can find them in every city, in every village, in every town, in every continent. And among this 1.5 billion followers, we don't claim that all of them are saints descending from heaven. They are human beings. We have the good ones and we have the bad ones. LAPD, they have good officers and they have evil officers, you know, who kill innocent people. So, and we have them within the Muslim community, within the Jewish community, within the Christian community, within the Buddhist community. So, Islam is not immune from extremism or radicalism. Yes, we do have bad elements among the Muslim community. This is a disease which is striking every creed and every religion and every country. So I'm not going to lie to you and tell you all the Muslims are peaceful. No. Neither I am going to tell you that we have no killing in Islam. We do have, yes, people get killed. Actually today, if you look at the map of the Middle East, you would see almost in every country, in every Muslim and Arab country in the Middle East, there is a bloodshed. There is killing of innocent lives every single day. What is happening in Syria, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, and in other areas. So, but those extremists are not promoted by religion. They have their own twisted ideology, unfortunately. They misunderstand Islam. They misunderstand the Quran. They think that some of them, like Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda and others, they think that if you don't follow their tradition, you don't deserve to live, which is completely wrong and utterly against the message of Islam. So, and if you follow what they do, they are killing more Muslims than non-Muslims. If you count the number of the victims of those Muslim terrorists, you would find most of them, actually the vast majority of them, are Muslim worshippers, people who go to the mosque. Do you follow the news, guys? Do you see what happens in Pakistan? People are going to the mosque to worship God, and someone comes inside the mosque, or he's waiting for them outside the mosque, and as soon as the people are leaving, he would detonate himself, and he would easily kill 30 or 40 or 50 innocent worshippers who are Muslims. The same thing happening in Iraq on daily basis. The same thing happening in Syria. In Syria, there are some mosques now, Islamic mosques, being demolished by Muslims. Not by Jews, not by Christians, but by Muslims. Muslim terrorists and Muslim extremists. So we do have this disease among ourselves. But you have to know that this disease is not sanctioned or condoned by our religion, by our prophet, or by our book. Now, let's go to the main subject. What is Islamic Sharia? They put it in a couple of lines. The Sharia is a comprehensive system of living that influences all aspects of our life, individual as well as communal. And therefore, Muslim scholars and theologians believe that the main goal of Islamic Sharia is the welfare and the happiness and the progress of the people. Sharia came to make us happy, not to make us sad. Sharia came for our development. Sharia came for our dignity. Sharia came to help us, not to hurt us. And therefore, I see some people nowadays in the streets of, and those of you who have interest in politics, especially Middle Eastern politics or political Islam, you see many hardliners today, whether in Egypt or Egypt as an example, but you can find them everywhere in North Africa, Algeria, Morocco, Iraq, Pakistan, other places. You would find some people asking for the implementation of Sharia, Islamic Sharia. They carry the copies of the Quran with them and they jump up and down and they say, this is our constitution. This is what we need to see in the life. When you come to them and you ask them, what is Islamic Sharia? He tells you Islamic Sharia is you have to grow a long beard if you are a man, longer, 10 times longer than mine actually. And for women to cover themselves completely from head to toe. For them, this is Islamic Sharia. It's not about, the dignity of the humans. It's not about providing education, healthcare, job opportunity. It's not about that. It's only about two things. For men, long beards. For women, complete cover. And this is wrong. This is nowhere in the Holy Quran. Nowhere in the Holy Quran says that men have to grow their beard and then women have to cover from head to toe. Nowhere in the Quran. But this is the misunderstanding of Islam among the Muslims themselves. The Muslims, they don't understand their own religion. They don't appreciate the true meaning of the message that Muhammad brought to them 1400 years ago. Now, many, I would not say all, I would say many of the Muslim theologians believe that Islamic Sharia encompasses 5 main aspects of our life. And it has 5 aims and goals. The very first aim of Islamic Sharia, you would follow me on this, we have 5 points here. It's the preservation and the protection of life. My friend, the most important thing on this earth is your life and my life, is the human's life. That is the most important thing in the eyes of God. And therefore, people's life has to be protected. And it is sanctified, and it is holy. The soul of any human is more holy than the church or the mosque or the synagogue or the Old Testament or the Bible or the Quran. The soul of any person, be it a believer in God or an atheist. Human soul, regardless of its origin, creed, belief, is sacred. It has to be protected. It is the top priority. Nothing has more value than the human life. So this is the most important aim of the Islamic Sharia, is to protect your life against any sort of danger. And also the right to life and the duty to protect it entails the prohibition of killing. As I said earlier, killing is a cardinal sin. But unfortunately, nowadays in the Muslim world, the easiest thing and the fastest thing is to kill someone else. And the cheapest thing. Human life has no protection and no value. People are being killed in hundreds. In the West, if a tragedy happens in a city, the mayor of that city is going to quit his job. The governor of the state is going to quit his job. The president probably quits his job. But in the Muslim countries, hundreds of people being slaughtered every day, and the mayor is the same mayor, and the head of the police is the same head of police, and the president is, enjoying his time with his family and his friends, as if nothing happened. As if nothing happened. The cheapest thing today is the human life. But this is un-Islamic. This is actually anti-Islamic. Muslims are not understanding, neither appreciating the true message of their religion. They are Muslims by name, but they are not Muslims by practice. Muslims just by name, by birth. They are not Muslims by practice. Of course, we have exceptions to the killing, which is, it has to be through just and credible judiciary, system, or in legitimate defense, when you are defending your land, your country, your family, So, because life is important, healthcare is also important. Not necessarily Obama healthcare, but, any healthcare is important. And therefore we have to avoid, we see it as a religious duty, moral duty in Islam, to avoid sickness and whatever leads into sickness and illness, because we believe that we do not own our own lives. Our own lives is owned by God, given to us as a trust. So we have to maintain it, we have to take care of it until God would summon us back. Maybe at the age of 20, maybe at the age of 50, maybe at the age of 90. So we have to preserve our life. And therefore, if you look at this subtitle down, we have the dietary rules. Many of my non-Muslim friends ask me, why don't you drink? Why don't you eat this? Why don't you eat that? We tell them that we have dietary rules. We have to protect our health against any sickness or illness. And therefore, we don't drink alcohol. We don't drink alcohol because drinking alcohol, excessiveness, even moderation drinking would bring many tragedies, calamities into your life and the life of those who live around you. Many of these accidents that we see on a daily basis, of these shootings that we see, when you investigate that, the main reason is alcohol. So certain things, we don't get close to them because we do not want to compromise our mental health, our spiritual health, and our physical health. And therefore, physical fitness is important. And I forgot I have to do my exercise. I haven't been doing that for the last 2 days. So, cleanliness and hygiene is also important. We have a sentence of Prophet Mohammad, said by Prophet Muhammad. He says, "An-nadhafatul iman." Cleanliness is the faith. If you ask me what is faith, how do I define faith? I tell you faith is a cleanliness. Cleanliness of the body, of the dress, of your bathroom, of your bedroom, of your house, of your office, of your city, of your classroom, of your street. You have to be clean. You have to take care of the nature around you. You have to take care of, yourself and others around you. So cleanliness is also important. But those of you who travel to many places in the Middle East, you would find exactly the opposite of what I am telling you, unfortunately. I enjoy, one of the reasons I'm staying in America and I don't want to go back to Iraq is a cleanliness here. I enjoy cleanliness. I enjoy looking at clean streets, neighborhoods, parks. Even my mosque, when people come from the Middle East, they say, wow, so beautiful, the bathroom is so clean. So, cleanliness is part of our religion. Unfortunately, it is not appreciated by some Muslims. Then we have ecological awareness and respect for the environment, and therefore I believe every good Muslim should be an environmentalist, someone who really protects not only himself and his family, but all the environment around him. All the environment has to be protected. It is mentioned in the Quran and the sayings of Prophet Muhammad that when you live in a neighborhood, in a city, near the ocean, near the river, a lake, or a forest, you have to maintain the cleanliness and maintain the area around you and try to protect it. The second goal of the Islamic Sharia is the preservation of mind. Because my friends, mind, we call it aql in the Arabic language, aql. Also the Persians, they call it aql. Mind means reason, intellectual power. Because it is the hallmark of human being. If you ask me today, what's the difference between us sitting here and the cows now in this next door field? What's the difference between us? You know, cows, sometimes they have much bigger bodies than us. You know, they weigh much more, you know, than us. Certain animals, they are, you know, faster than us. They have sharper vision than us. Sharper, you know, hearing faculty than us. What is the difference between us and animals? It is reason. It is reason. You are here for something reasonable. Your reason invited you to come here. The cow in the field had no reason and therefore had no choice. If you ask an animal in the zoo, why you are here? Why you end up here in the zoo? He would tell you, I don't know. It was not me, I have no choice. But we have choice. This is the difference between us and animals. We have reason and therefore we have choice. Animals have no reason and therefore they have no choice. And this is the only reason between us and animals. So reason has to be also protected. And therefore, my friends, one of the important reasons why drinking is strictly prohibited. Zero tolerance for drinking in Islam. See, in America, they tell you zero tolerance for drinking and driving. We tell you zero tolerance for drinking, period. Whether you want to drive or you want to sleep, doesn't matter. Because it is going to take away from you God's most precious gift, which is reason. It's going to strip you from your reason. Maybe for 5 minutes, maybe for 10 minutes. Therefore, we stay away from it. So don't be surprised if you ask some of the good Muslims here to go with you for a party and they say, no, sorry, I can't come. Because there is drinking. And before I came here to Chico, one of my friends said, you are going to a campus that was at one time the top party college in 1980, 87, yeah? 86? I hope you don't get that title again. I hope you would never get that title, top college party. So stay with no parties, with no drinking, so you can focus on your studies and focus on your life. In Quran 779 says, we strongly condemn that those who were given minds and reason and intellectual power, but unfortunately they chose not to use it. And therefore I would come to two important points here. Because reason is paramount, is very important in Islam, we do have a freedom of thoughts and a freedom of expression. You are free to think freely. And you are free in Islam to express yourself. And therefore, pursuit of knowledge is not only a right of the citizens in an Islamic society, it's a duty. Prophet Muhammad says, it is a duty on you. It is a religious duty on you to go to school. You have to go to school, whether you are male or female. For those of you who are familiar with Arabic, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة. It's an obligation. Seeking knowledge, Jim, you understand Arabic, okay? Seeking knowledge is farida. Farida means obligation, religious obligation. So religious obligation does not mean that we only pray and fast and go to Mecca, for pilgrimage. We have to come to school. So those of you who are here tonight, you are worshiping God. On Valentine's Eve, you are worshiping God. Good job. Okay. The meaning of freedom of speech, my friends. Here we have some difference with maybe with the American understanding of freedom of speech. In Islam, we believe that you are free to speak as long as you don't pose, not that you don't hurt others, but you don't pose a danger on your society. A danger. What is the danger? Danger could be war between two groups. I stand here, I give a speech against Catholicism, Christianity, against the people of Chico, okay? And then after my lecture, we would, get engaged in fighting, in a brawl tonight. This is not called freedom of speech. This is a freedom of agitation and a mutiny. So, freedom of speech, as long as it does not hurt the peace and security of our societies. When this freedom starts to hurt us and endanger our life and our peace, then it is not a freedom anymore. It should not be practiced. This is where we differ with the American thinking, with the American philosophy. In America, you can say anything, anytime you like, to any person, whatever the consequences are. Yes? True or false? Yeah? But in Islam, we say no. You have to consider the consequences. Then, the third item, the third goal of Islamic Sharia is the freedom of religion. And therefore, in the second chapter in the Quran, you find a very important verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, in chapter which is entitled The Cow, verse 256. God says, no compulsion in religion, period. Meaning that no government, no political party, no power, no army, no university, no person, no father, no mother, no husband can impose his or her ideological and religious belief on others, even on their kids. We parents, we don't impose it. We teach them Islam, but we don't force them to be Muslims. We tell them Islam is good. We tell them, listen, Islam, compare Islam with Christianity, with Judaism, with Hinduism, with Buddhism. Islam is the best. But we don't force them to follow us. We'd love them to follow us. We give incentives to them. We encourage them. But we don't intimidate them. Neither we force them. Because there is no compulsion in religion. Why? Because religion is a matter of faith. It's a matter which is here in your heart. You cannot force people to love someone or hate someone by force. You can't do that. You can't do that. And God wants us to get to Him with our free choice, with no intimidation. If someone forces me to be Muslim or a Jewish or a Christian, then I'm not going to be the right Muslim or the right Christian or the right Jewish person. I'm not going to be. I might tell him, yes, I am. But inside me, I'm not. And this is not faith. This is not faithfulness. This is faithlessness. So no compulsion in religion. Now, therefore, during the time of Prophet Muhammad, I would do what Mark Rubio did last night. So, in the Republican rebuttal. Yeah. So freedom of religion at the time of Prophet Muhammad was guaranteed for those who lived, non-Muslims, who lived around them. Now, this means there were no wars between him and the Christians? Yes, there were some wars. There were no wars between him and the pagans? There were. No wars between him and the Jews? There were. Several ones too. Because of course at the time of peace, they lived in peace. At the time of disagreement, when one of them would breach the covenant, then he would declare war. See, my friends, one of the fundamental differences between Islam and Christianity, and I assume most of you here are Christians, is the following. In Islam, we don't believe in eye for eye, like the Jews believe in. we say if someone assaults you, if someone attacks you, it's better to forgive him. But if someone attacks your city, your town, your country, this is not your personal right to forgive him. If he attacks me personally, I have the right to forgive that enemy. But if he attacks my country, or my city, or my village, or my town, or my institution, then it is not my personal right. This is a collective right of the citizens, all the citizens. So here, we have to defend ourselves. One of the fundamental differences between Islam and Christianity, that in Christianity, if someone slaps you on this cheek, what do you do to him? You tell me? You turn the other cheek. In Islam, we don't turn the other cheek, no. Maybe we don't slap him back, but we don't turn the other cheek. We stand and defend ourselves. Because we believe if we turn the other cheek, then we are encouraging him to slap me more and more and more, and go on and slap others. So we have to stop him. We have to give him a lesson. We have to tell him that what you are doing is wrong. So, therefore, there were some wars at the time of Prophet Muhammad, but these were mostly defensive. Mostly defensive. Now, some of you would ask me that if this is the case, no compulsion in religion, then why when some Muslims, let's say in Egypt or in Iran or in Pakistan or wherever, or in Saudi Arabia, when they choose to relinquish Islam, they would say, I'm not Muslim anymore. Why they are sentenced to death? Why? You are telling us no compulsion in religion. They don't want to be Muslims. They choose to be other religion. Why do you guys sentence them to death? See, my friends, blasphemy by itself is not punishable. If someone rejects Islam and he says, I hate Islam, okay, good for you. But when he starts agitating about it, when he starts stirring public mutiny, then the crime, the punishment goes for that crime, not for being blasphemous. Blasphemy, it's okay. You don't want to be Muslim. We are not forcing you. But you may sit quiet. Don't go and agitate against me, against my society, against my, This is considered public mutiny, which is punishable. Then we go to the fourth thing, and we have to run. Protection of private ownership. In Islam is somewhere between capitalism and Marxism. Neither absolute capitalism nor absolute Marxism. There is no limit of amassing wealth in Islam, provided it is secured by lawful means, which entails in the prohibition of these acts. Many of them are prohibited in America too, in an American society, secular society. Theft, corruption, fraud, monopoly, cheating. But the last one, usury, which is not prohibited here. Usury, when you charge interest, when you give loan to people and then you charge them interest, high interest, this is forbidden. So if I give you loan today, if you come to me and get a loan from me, when you give me this loan back, you give me only the $1,000 that you took from me. You don't give me $1,500. In America here, if you buy a house, $100,000, at the end of 30 years, you're going to repay $300,000, my friends. This is why many people are losing their properties. So usury is forbidden. And it is mandatory in Islam to reach out to the poor and underserved in our communities. Of course, fighting poverty is one of the main goals of the Islamic Sharia, eliminating poverty in Muslim and non-Muslim societies, and also securing jobs for people. We don't want people to sit and beg for food we have to provide them jobs. Unfortunately, nowadays, in many Muslim countries, people like you who graduate from universities, they don't find jobs because of corruption, because of monopoly, because the government is owned by one family. by just one family. Imagine if Barack Obama and his family, they own us, they own America. What would happen? Would you sit silent and do nothing about it? This is what is happening in many Muslim countries. And then the fifth goal of the Islamic and the final goal of the Islamic Sharia is the preservation of human species, which is very important, and that entails the protection of the family. So family is very important in Islam. Family values, family principles is regarded very, very highly in Islam, and therefore marriage is encouraged to establish the institution of family and marriage. The most beloved act in the eyes of God on earth is not when you stand and pray before Him, not when you fast 30 days during the month of Ramadan. It is when you establish a family, when you get married, when you raise children. This is the most important act in the eyes of God. So marriage and family are sacrosanct in Islam, and we encourage them, and we encourage, our young ones to find the right partner. And of course, marriage in Islam is between male and female only. And we also encourage them to have children. So this is why you see some of your fellow Arabs here, most of them are married, and some of them, they have kids also. So this is very encouraged in Islam. Some of them, they make 5 or 6 kids. So I have 5 children and 3 grandchildren. So, and I'm looking, forward for more, But of course, I'm not going to tell you to talk to you about polygamy tonight here. So, although polygamy used to be practiced in Islam, and even now in some countries, but it is not encouraged today. This is one of the things I want you to understand, that Islamic Sharia, Islamic law, is a progressive law. It's not something that we say, well, Prophet Muhammad did this, then I must do the same. Prophet Muhammad did this 1400 years ago in the middle of the Arabian Peninsula. We live in Chico, California. This is year, 2013. Maybe polygamy worked there for people, but it doesn't work here. So what I really encourage, although religion gives permission for a person who can treat 2 wives justly, and religion gives him permission to marry more than 1 wife, but we don't do that, and we do not encourage people to do it now. Not for a political reason, no, or not because the American law forbids this. Because I believe now the moral law for the Muslims here and elsewhere forbids this. It doesn't work anymore. It used to work, 50 years ago. It's not working now. So we encourage them to love their only wives, and don't forget Valentine's Day tomorrow. You have to take some gifts home. And but extramarital relations are also a sin, considered a sin. Any relationship, any intimacy outside wedlock, outside the institution of marriage, is also considered sin. So these were briefly the main objectives of the Islamic Sharia.